Welcome to episode 529 of the Autoblog podcast. Greg Migliore and John Snyder joining you here on a Thursday afternoon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Got a great show lined up for you. Let's jump right in.
Sure thing.
Lots of good stuff. We're going to lead off with some of the news of the week. Ferrari is seriously considering a sport utility vehicle. Not basically even seriously considering. Marchionne's like, yeah, we're probably going to do it. I don't know how I feel about this. This is like changing my world, you know,
I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of purists are going to be upset probably, but, you know, and everyone's going to SUVs now. I feel like you kind of have to if you're Ferrari. I don't really blame them, so.
I go with the whole Porsche model. Like when I drove when I've driven the Cayenne and the Macan, every time I drive those cars, those crossovers, I'm like, this is rewarding. They're fun to drive. They sound good. So, I mean, I've long ago just given up the fight that Porsche shouldn't be doing crossovers. I think that's how I'm going to be with Ferraris. I can't wait to drive a Ferrari crossover, to be honest.
If they can maintain that Ferrari sort of DNA, when you sit in it and, like, this is a Ferrari still, if they can do that successfully, I think it's going to be good. I think that's what a lot of people worry about, though. That's what people were worried about with Porsche, but Porsche has pulled it off fantastically. You sit inside a Cayenne or a Macan, and you know you're in a Porsche.
Yeah, I think two things for me: ride height and utility. What are they going to do for those two things? Because Ferraris are low, you know, sculpted cars with not a lot of trunk space, things like that.
Right.
So it's like to make it somewhat usable, they're going to have to put some stuff. You know, some utility space. You know, I think you see a little bit of that with the FF, but
yeah,
they're going to have to figure out, you know, sort of an elegant solution for that. And then I don't really know what they do about the ride height. They've got to sort of jack the car up a little bit.
Right.
So.
And then they're going to have to throw a whole bunch of power at it to make sure it stays quick and still feels sporty.
I think the smart move is drop a V12 in it.
There
you know, people are going to be like, we don't like all these things, but this engine's sweet.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. I think that works.
A V12 engine is a really good way to silence critics, I think. Yeah. That's what I would do anyway.
Well, whatever they're doing, I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. And, yeah, I've been hearing rumors about it for a while now, so the fact that they're actually talking about it openly is pretty interesting.
I mean, Lamborghini is doing one. I believe production is, like, starting in Italy, like, this year.
Pretty soon, yeah.
I mean,
far along.
It's inevitable. You know, I think you're going to have a segment of buyers who are like, hey, I want an SUV. I own a Ferrari. What can you do for me?
Sure. I love my Ferrari, but it's my second car. I would love to have another Ferrari for, you know, actually doing things and going on road trips and stuff. So
right.
I love the brand. Give me an SUV.
Exactly. Speaking of SUVs, FCA kind of keeping it sort of in the family here.
A little bit.
Marchionne, their CEO, mentioned this week that they're probably going to keep Jeep. That makes beyond too much sense for me. I think they should keep Jeep. This, to me, is just a really smart move.
Right. I mean, they could make a lot of money selling it off, but I think it's worth more. I mean, Jeep is worth more to the company than the rest of the company.
Right.
And they've already put a bunch of money into Jeep, you know, fixing up the plants and all that. So, and yeah, Jeep is probably like sort of their life preserver right now.
Sure.
So yeah, they shouldn't get rid of it.
I mean, if you sell Jeep, sort of what at that point do you have? You know, you've got the Ram truck lineup, which is you know very strong. You've got you know all the crazy Dodges, which are mostly performance-like. And you've got the Pacifica minivan. You know, the Chrysler brand itself is pretty weak right now outside of the 300. So you really, like, Jeep is the company right now. It gives it critical mass. It really makes it competitive.
Yeah. And, yeah, it would just be a shame for them to get rid of it. But, yeah, I don't know. I know there are a lot of people out there who would love to get a crack at owning Jeep. But, yeah, it would just be, even if they were willing to sell, it would be a lot of money. Yeah.
I mean, say they, like, let's just, so they're not going to sell it, but say they did, you know, you're really leaving the cupboard bare, like I said. You know, you do have Alfa and Maserati, but for a while we were hearing rumors those might be kind of on the block to sell too.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just, this to me is just, it's not making a mistake, you know. So, I don't know. I'm excited because I think, you know, I would prefer to buy a Jeep if I were going to buy one that's owned by, you know, say FCA. I think I kind of like that. You know, it just, to me, it still seems like a good fit. And, you know, I think it's a smart play for
Yeah,
them.
it would feel weird to buy a Jeep if it was owned by, say, a Chinese brand or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's an all-American, you know, vehicle. It's, you know, I think there's still, you know, there's not many questions about FCA. You know, like, we do wonder about some of their long-term viability strategies, things like that. But, you know, say they were to sell it to, like, an automaker or a company that's not as established, that's where you start to get those doubts in your mind, like, well, how's this going to go if I buy a Jeep? You know, are my warranties going to be all right? Is the product going to be where I'd expect it to be? You know, Chrysler's made cars, FCA has made cars for almost 100 years.
Sure.
Like, Jeep quality is overall pretty good.
Yeah, and I think with reintroducing the Wagoneer,
I'm psyched about that.
Yeah, that's going to be helpful for them too. So I think holding on to it is definitely a win for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't forget the pickup truck, the Wrangler pickup. What did we hear that was called? Was it going to be the, I'm blanking on the name, but the Scrambler. That might be one of the names, which would be cool. When the new Wrangler comes out, I think that's probably my play if I was looking to get like a personal daily driver, would be that pickup, you know, because Wrangler's cool, but I don't know, that pickup, you know, just, I always like those Jeep pickups.
Yeah,
you know,
they've got a lot of charm, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's Jeep, that's Ferrari. Some other news, shifting gears quite a bit here. Aston Martin is looking at getting into the Formula E racing series. This is, you know, would definitely get their brand out there in a different light. But, you know, John, you're the editor of Autoblog Green. Good move.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's getting, it's been really interesting this off season of Formula E. Companies are scrambling to join. We've had a lot of European luxury brands join up. We've got BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Jaguar's been in since last year. So yeah, it's sort of the bragging rights, the racing bragging rights for these high-end companies. But yeah, a lot of companies are showing interest. FCA has shown interest. It's not going to be Ferrari, though. And now Nissan is probably reportedly going to replace Renault. So we'll have some Japanese cars there. But yeah, CEO Andy Palmer at Aston says he loves Formula E. They're coming out with an electric car. Formula E would be a good spot for development and for marketing. And it would make sense. He says he's worried about the car swaps mid-race, which is a practice that they do right now. But he says that it's a concern about range anxiety. It sort of perpetuates that myth, if you want to call it. But yeah, they're switching to, not this coming season, but the season after that, they're switching to a single car for the entire race. So that's when some of these other companies are going to jump on board.
Seems like a really good move for Aston and for a lot of other automakers, because you get a lot of learnings from Formula E. You know, you compete in Formula One. Not a lot of that is very, you know, transferable to, say, really any road car. You know, Mercedes says they get some stuff for like the Project One, cars like that, but there's not as much of a direct sort of tech transfer. Whereas Formula E, you definitely can learn about, you know, the batteries, just good general practices for, you know, how to use and electrify your fleet. Yeah,
these are already sort of new technologies for them, so anything that they can learn by putting them in extreme conditions is going to help them develop better road cars.
Plus, Aston has, you know, been pretty, you know, outspoken about its strategy to be more electric. You know, they're going to offer some version of almost their entire portfolio, I believe, will have some sort of hybrid or electric technology a few years down the road. I've talked to some of their executives in the last couple of years, and like they truly think this is the best way for their company to be sporty going forward. It's a green play, but it's also, you know, a cliched mean play, because think about it, an Aston with a more fuel efficient but maybe high output 4-cylinder engine, is that something you really want to drive? Is that going to sound right? I don't think so. Give me an electric Aston Martin. That sounds way better to me than downsizing or, you know, tweaking the engines and things like that.
Yeah, I think having a presence in racing sort of puts the performance spin on electrification. It sort of helps companies brand their EVs as fun instead of just clean.
I cannot wait to get to a Formula E race. I have never been. You haven't been either. We were just talking off camera. We got to get to one of these. You know, it's be a lot of fun. You know, sit in the stands.
Right in the center of the city there. It's, it's so cool.
It's a really, that's one thing I like about the series too, is how they're trying to, like, you know, build their races in these areas where, like, the race is like this big event, and I think that's cool. It's like they really, like, you know, like New York City is, you know, one of the big ones here in the U.S. Yeah, it just makes so much sense to me. So
yeah, and they're in the middle of the city. They can show off their, you know, electric propulsion, which is, you know, those are their customers. Their target customers for electric cars are, you know, it's urban dwellers. So it's a fit there too.
Cool stuff. Yeah. Cool stuff. And you know what's not electrified? The Ford Shelby Mustang GT350.
That's correct.
We're going to make a bit of a hard transition to the best of the fleet this week. We have a lot of cool cars. Really fun fleet. This Mustang is really sick looking.
It is. It's beautiful, and yeah, it looks mean too.
It's got the performance, some performance parts, performance package going on there. It's stickers for what, almost 60, 59.
Yeah, about that.
It's not cheap. You know, I like this. I forget if this is like a lightning blue or whatever color this is, with the dark wheels.
Yeah,
it's, you know, the new Mustang
Grabber
looks
blue,
good.
I think.
Grabber blue. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's a tough car. You know, this is, I think Ford is doing a lot of good things with the Mustang right now. I think they have that car where they want it. This one sounds so good. Like, I heard one of the camera guys were just rolling up with it the other day, and it was like, holy cow. Like, what's going on, you know?
This has the performance pack, which sort of enhances the sound, too. So.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to taking it home tonight.
That's we got to finish up this podcast so you could beat rush hour, get that thing on the open road, and you know, have some fun with it.
Yeah. I was stuck in rain and traffic last night with the Audi R8 Spider.
Oh, that's the worst. That is the worst.
But I still had a chance to open it up a little bit. So.
Nice. I have not signed up for the R8 Spider. I will next week, definitely. The wheels on that car look awesome. Yeah. And I am,
We're doing driver's notes on both these cars, by the way.
So exactly.
Come check out autoblog.com. I think we're putting the Shelby up on Friday, maybe, and then R8 next week. So so they'll both be up there with our, you know, expert opinions.
Got to come back for those driver's notes. That's where the staff weighs in. We drive these cars all week, and you know, we don't pull any punches. You know, it's good stuff. Other stuff in the fleet this week, we've got the 2017 Nissan Rogue. We went Rogue. This one's got ProPilot.
Yeah, it's a prototype. It's the system that they're bringing to the U.S. on the Nissan Leaf. It's basically adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist, steering assist. You know, I mean, that's not entirely new technology.
No.
But it's going to be available in much cheaper cars when Nissan brings it. So I think that's the interesting thing about ProPilot. And it works really well.
I agree. I was driving it a couple days ago, and I was thinking to myself, I've never driven a car quite at that price point with that kind of technology. Right. Normally, these are things that you see on like BMWs, Volvos, Audis, that sort of, you know, that brand positioning. And it worked pretty well. It's simple to use, which I liked. You know, you just, couple things, you know, get the cruise control going, set it up, hit that like safety shield button right there in the steering wheel area, and boom. It works.
Yeah, and I tried it on the Nissan Leaf in a prototype in Japan, but that was at the proving grounds. But so I was excited to try it on you know, our crowded highways here in Michigan, and both times I found it worked really smoothly. It seemed to see you really far ahead and started slowing. You know, a lot of times when you're using adaptive cruise control, you start coming up on a car and it feels like you're never going to slow down.
Right.
This, you know, it starts slowing down early but gradually, so you know something's happening, but it's not, you know, keeping too much distance. You know, you can select the distance, but yeah, and the steering is really smooth. It just sort of keeps you right in the center of your lane. On some of the curves, it was sort of almost getting to the edge of the lane and pulling you back in. But
that's a tough part of this one to really get right.
For the most part, though, I think it works really well comparatively.
I thought it was pretty good. This isn't a fair comparison, but I just drove the 740e, the BMW we have. I thought that sort of suite of, adaptive cruise control with lane departure was a little bit better, but that car literally probably cost 3 times as much as the Rogue. So, the technology worked pretty well on this. I think I needed to play with the settings a little bit more because my experience was it slowed down not quickly enough. There were a couple times I was like, I would have braked then, but it's fine. And then there was a little bit of a delay as far as like starting. I would like to have started quicker. But overall, this is like semi-autonomous. It's level 2, right? For the masses, it's a smart move. It's a good play. I think you have a much longer commute than I do. Yeah. This is the kind of thing that really, I think, makes your commute better.
Yeah, it takes the stress off, really.
Yeah.
And especially when it's a good system that, reacts calmly to situations, or if someone cuts you off, it doesn't, slam on the brakes. Yeah. That really takes a lot of the stress off, and it sort of keeps an eye out for you.
Absolutely.
It's definitely good for the stop-and-go traffic that I encounter.
Nice. Other vehicle we got to talk about, this is a riot. Chevy Colorado ZR2, off-road king.
Cool. Yeah, I had no idea that I was going to like it as much as I did.
Yeah.
That suspension is just awesome.
Really good suspension.
Yeah, we took it out on some dirt roads. I actually took it off-road a little bit, and after that I felt like I could drive over anything. I was, looking at the median, and I was like, I could drive over that. And like,
you get a little overconfident.
Right, but it was also super smooth on the highway, going over potholes and everything. It was not like super crashy or stiff. It was really compliant and just neutral.
I was surprised. I think I agree with you completely. I was surprised just how good it is on the road. Like, I kept thinking, oh, this is like a Baja truck or something.
Right.
This is not going to feel good when we're going up and down Woodward Avenue. But it was totally fine. So they really got the tuning right for that, which is impressive.
Yeah, that suspension's really something.
It also looks awesome. Yeah. The one we had was all blacked out. It had sort of like the front fascia is like sort of buttoned up at an angle, so you have that like approach for when you're, going up the side of a mountain or something.
Yeah, and it looks really good dirty too.
It does. It's
covered in mud.
I don't know. I've liked the Colorado and the Canyon a lot the last few years since they. I guess they brought them back, but since they relaunched this new generation. Big fan of the Silverado, the Ram, the F-150, but I think if I needed a truck, to go with my Jeep pickup truck, the Colorado is one, I could drive that thing every day.
Yeah, you really could. I've never thought I would like a truck as much as I like this truck.
Yeah.
We've driven some cool trucks lately, the Ram 2500 and the Nissan Titan. And those were, I liked those more than I thought I would. But this is, if I was going to buy one, this so far of the ones I've driven recently, this would be my choice because it is just really nice to drive.
Agree. It's one of those things where you get in it and you're not really wanting for anything more. It's just like, it drives well, it looks cool, you're comfortable right away in it. This one I believe had the V6, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty capable. I was like, we were definitely looking at this one and trying to examine that ZR2 off-road, the suspension, all those goodies, but just the Colorado has really impressed me. In fact, I even like it more, I think, than the GMC Canyon. I just kind of like that Chevy, just the way it looks. I don't need all that extra chrome. There's some GMC versions I like better than their Chevy counterparts. Yeah. This one, I was just like, give me the Chevy. Simple, pure, baseball apple pie. Chevy.
Yeah, I haven't driven the Canyon, but this one definitely looks better in my opinion.
Yeah, good stuff. So that was it's been a good week here for the fleet. We didn't have a lot of negative things to say. Sometimes we do, but a lot of good cars. If you have any questions about these cars, reach out to us, send us an email, hit us up on Twitter, on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Even if it's a car that we haven't driven, hey, send us a question. Maybe we can help you out.
Yeah.
We drive a lot of cool cars. And,
and we can always try and get into whatever you have questions about too.
So. It's fun to drive all these cars and trucks.
I love this job.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So we're going to go now to the video clip of the week. Really cool thing. It's the latest episode of The List. Let's have a watch.
right, well, now that we've had a chance to drive it for a little bit, we can tell that it is good from far, but seems to be far from good.
Starting with the body panels, while it looks like it's a solid little car, it's actually super duper flexy every single where you push.
And let's talk about the weight of the car. Oh, wow. Yeah, so if you're in a tight spot, you just slide it out.
Well, it looks like it has dual exhaust. These are really just cup holders on the back because it's only got one single tiny exhaust, not even attached to these.
Oh.
Doesn't even latch.
Yeah, you gotta. There you go. And for the moment you've all been waiting for.
Yes, the streamlined 2-cylinder packing 1 horsepower engine.
So if you hear a street legal sewing machine coming, it's probably us.
You know, right now, already, in the first 1 minute of driving this, I am grateful we're on these tiny roads, because otherwise I'd probably be pulling my hair out wanting to go faster.
Oh, you'd be bombing down this thing if you could. Bonjour. Man, I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna throw money down on it. For the first, like, 50 yards, I bet I could beat this car. Foot brakes, oh. What the heck? Did this thing just pop open? What the hell was that?
This is worse than a tin can.
Oh my God.
All right, welcome back. We're going to come back at you with 3 big questions. One of my favorite parts of the podcast. I throw 3 big questions at John. He throws them right back at me.
Yeah.
So first one's a little bit, this is deep. Ferrari SUV or a Lambo?
That's
SUV?
a tough one. That is really tough since, you know, I haven't had a chance to experience either of them. Geez, I really like what Ferrari's been doing with like the FF and everything after that, but I feel like Lamborghini just has more experience with all-wheel drive, and has other brands in its family that have SUV experience. I would maybe have to go with the Lamborghini.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. At first glance, I want to say Lambo, but all the things you just said are why I'm going Ferrari, because I'm a little bit concerned that the Urus is going to be just a little too Volkswagen grouped up, you know. So I want to see what Ferrari can do. I mean, Ferrari is basically independent right now. They are. I mean, they have their own stock symbol. But we know that the link to the rest of FCA is pretty strong. Like, they're independent, but like all the same people kind of own Ferrari right now. So they could dip into that pool, but I think they're going to play it safe. And they're going to, they know they cannot make an SUV that's a joke, because that's what people are concerned about. So they know they're going to have to get it right. They're not going to drop the Grand Cherokee's 4-wheel drive system in it. Yeah. So I'm thinking Ferrari. Prancing horse crossover, man.
You've almost got me convinced. The one thing that I foresee is that I will probably like the looks of the Ferrari better.
Naturally.
I think they just make more elegant cars. But I don't know if elegant's really what you want in an SUV anyway. You
know what would change my vote here is if this wasn't like the Urus, because we've basically seen that. If it was the Rambo Lambo from like the 80s, like that thing was crazy. Like, if that's what they were making, then I would change my vote. But hey, they're not. Sticking with Ferrari. Let's keep things rough and tough and go with some small pickups, mid-sized pickups. Colorado ZR2 or Tacoma TRD?
I'm going to have to go with the Colorado, just because I think it drives really well in more real-life conditions. I'm not going to take it off-road, and I know it does really great on the highway. So that's probably going to be my choice.
Interesting, interesting. I want to say Taco, but I'm going to say Colorado. This is another tight one for me because I really like the Tacoma. I like it more than the Ridgeline, for example. Yeah. And I just, currently the way the Colorado drives and a little bit how it looks, I feel like it's a better execution than the Tacoma is right now. The Tacoma's really good. That would be in my top probably 10 list of things if I were going to actually buy a personal vehicle. There'd be a couple of small trucks in there, and, Taco would make that top 10 cut. Yeah, the Tacoma TRD seems a little more maybe hardcore, at least in spirit. But that's not something I would use, really. So, yeah, Colorado. So we're sticking together. First two big questions. Third one, Ford, Shelby Mustang GT350. Do you want the performance package or don't you?
Of course. If you're going to spend that much money, just add another 10%, 8% to the price and get the car that's going to be the meanest, the baddest, the coolest Mustang you can get.
This to me is kind of an easy one. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you want that? Of course you would. Do you want, do you want seconds? Yeah, I do. Do you want to have another round? Absolutely.
Right. Do you want it to be louder? Yes.
Yes. So I mean, it's a pretty easy question, and yeah, those are the three big questions of the week.
Yep.
Cool. Moving along, we're talking about spending hypothetical money on our Mustang. I'm going to spend some of your money. This question comes to us today from Riley. Thanks for writing in. Riley loves the podcast, and he's really excited about how frequently we've been doing it. Thank you. That's good to hear. Question for us is, if we had unlimited money, wanted to buy one car that we drive for the rest of our lives, what would we buy? So he's torn between a couple things I think you're going to like, Mr. Green Car Editor. Tesla Model S P100D or a Porsche Panamera Turbo SE Hybrid Sport Turismo. So it's another sort of a cage match here.
Yeah, well, there's, complicated and nuanced reasons for either of these cars. I think, all the money in the world, I would go with the Porsche. That a plug-in Porsche wagon is just the coolest thing in the world.
It's totally awesome. It's everything.
Can I get it in brown, please?
With a manual transmission, of course, right?
But yeah, I think that that would be, with the world as it is right now, that's what I would choose. I think it's a little different saying it's the one car you drive for the rest of your life.
That's a tough one. I don't know.
That's where it gets interesting. The Model S is probably more practical in that case because, I don't know, it seems like we're moving toward electrification. Who knows how expensive gas will be in 10 years or even if we'll still be using gas cars in 40 years when I will still be driving this car. Unless I could convert my Porsche to a bigger battery and ditch the gas tank, I would probably stick with the Model S for the long term.
Ooh. Well-reasoned, nuanced arguments. That's what you expect here from John. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm thinking Tesla. For the rest of your life, that's an interesting. It's a lot of commitment. That's a long time, but I think Teslas are going to be classics. They are classics right now. They're icons. I really like how the Model S looks.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with that car. I think literally giving the battery range and the performance you could get from the Model S, especially once the P100D, I mean, that's going to be fun to drive. I don't think cars are going to get much quicker than that car is,
There's no reason for them to, really.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Tesla.
Yeah. I think this is a question worth revisiting, maybe swapping out the Panamera for the Mission E once we've gotten a taste of that, because that's going to be a very difficult decision.
I would say Mission E, but that's not the question. But I would definitely go Mission E. And, maybe that's the question they have on episode 5, more like 829 of the podcast. But, who knows? Who knows if podcasts will still be a thing, at the end of the natural lifespan of the Tesla Model S. So
it'll be some sort of telepathic entertainment.
It'll go just straight to your brain.
Yep.
Anyways, on that note, we got to wrap things up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening this week. Reach out to us on all of our social platforms. We want to hear from you. He's John.
He's Greg.
Thanks for watching and listening. That was episode 529 of the Autoblog podcast.